Hello and welcome to Shopping East Tennessee on WTMB. Joe Palo with you today with our friend Eric Gardner of Volunteer Ridipest, LLC. Eric, thank you for being with us today, man.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to talk with Eric a topic a little different than obviously pest control. For this time of year, there's a lot of folks out there that are wasting money. And you're thinking, how am I wasting money? You're wasting money because you don't have the insulation you need in your home. Energy's just going out the windows, going up through the roof. And this man here can save you money and insulate your home to the fullest. And that's what we're going to talk about today, the Energy Miser of Volunteer Ridipest. Eric, let's talk a little bit about the Energy Miser and how you can save folks money. Tell us some of the statistics. I know there's a lot out there of folks that don't have enough insulation.
Well, according to the U.S. Department of Energy, over 90% of American homes are under-insulated. There's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, the standards have changed through the years. Years ago, an R19 was considered adequate for attic insulation. So a lot of times they blow 6 inches. Well, now we know that 12 inches is where it needs to be, R38, so that's double that amount. For many years, it was considered R30 was enough. Well, now we know that's not quite enough, and you can save a considerable amount of money by getting it up to R38.
Well, on average, what somebody with, of course, we don't know exactly how much insulation they don't have, but on average, how much money can they save in a poorly insulated home versus a home that's insulated correctly?
What we're finding, most of the homes that we inspect, and we've inspected several hundred over the last couple of years, we're finding R19 or less. That's what most homes have that were built before 1990. When we add the insulation they need, which is typically doubling their insulation, they're saving a minimum of 20%. We've had some save as much as 35 to 40%. So it just depends on the house, how many people live there, their usage. But, so it's hard to put an exact number on it, but a minimum of 20%.
Well, and of course we have some questions here, but it's throwing questions in my head that we're talking. Insulation, is insulation, or has insulation even have a better quality now than it did, say, before 1990?
Yeah, it's improved drastically just over the last 5 or 6 years. The products that we have now are far superior than what was used even 10 years ago. So typically in walls, it's still fiberglass bats, but now they're denser. You can get more R value in that same size cavity. You have a 3.5-inch wall cavity in a typical stud wall. Now you can get R15 as before you get R11 or R13. In the attic, we use cellulose. There's different kinds, but what we prefer, for the cost versus return basis, is the cellulose. It'll fill all the cracks and voids and just, will give you a more energy efficient home. It won't let the air infiltrate like fiberglass insulation will.
Now, what type of insulation services do you offer?
Well, we will blow the cellulose insulation in attics. We do fiberglass insulation in floors that come in the bats that fit between the floor joists. And we also do air sealing, which is very crucial. A lot of homes need this, and even well-insulated homes don't have air sealing. It's where pipes go from the crawl space or the basement into the house or from the attic, wiring. They have holes around them that air can flow through. Well, we seal those with expanding foam before we insulate to make sure that the home is, first of all, airtight, and then we put the insulation in they need, and that's where you get the big savings.
Now, do you just insulate existing homes, or do you also do new construction?
We do new construction as well. There's not a lot of it right now with the building being slow, but it's starting to pick back up. But we focus on existing homes. We want to go in homes that you're living in, you know what your typical utility bill runs each month. That way we feel good when we leave because we know we've saved you money.
Right, and saving money is always a good thing. How do our viewers out there know if they have enough insulation?
Well, a couple of ways. You can check yourself. If you feel capable of getting up on a ladder and looking in your attic, you can take a ruler and just measure it.
Okay.
You can just measure. If you've got less than 12 inches, you need more. Fiberglass insulation has an R factor of 2.5 per inch. So you need about 14 inches of fiberglass.
Okay.
Cellulose is 3.5 per inch, so you need about 12 inches of cellulose. But if you can see your ceiling joist, you don't have enough because they should be completely buried.
Okay. Now, in our home, we have a garage adjoined to the basement, which is right underneath the first level. And in our garage, obviously, there's the floor joists, as you can see up in the ceiling. We have the, I guess, the fiberglass insulation that's rolled out. In that situation, how do you just reinstall the fiberglass with just a denser insulation, or do you just add to what's already there?
Well, many times if you've got some insulation in your basement or crawl space, it's probably adequate. But what we find in a lot of houses we go under, being in the pest control business, we go under a lot of houses, they don't have any. I mean, they have nothing. So we've installed the R19 fiberglass insulation. You know, they do the air sealing first, then install that, and if they need a vapor barrier, because when you install insulation in a crawl space, many times it's damp under there. So you have to make sure you get rid of the moisture before you do it, or the insulation's going to get wet. It's going to set up wood decay and other things. So you want to make sure you don't just put insulation in there. You want to make sure you do it properly, get the crawl space dried out, and then put the insulation in.
That was kind of my next question. Do you insulate damp crawl spaces?
Yeah, we can, but we just, like I said, have to make sure we correct the problem first. We do a lot of different things. We can encapsulate the crawl space, which means we insulate the walls and put plastic down to completely block the moisture flow from the ground up. We can install dehumidifiers, we can install ventilation. It just depends on what the crawl space needs. There's not a one-size-fits-all, but we figure out what does this crawl space need to correct the problem. Could be a small problem that needs to be corrected, could be a major problem. We can correct them all. Just give the homeowner what they need at a price they can afford and go from there.
Now, speaking of that, I mean, you know, we've got TVA, obviously. TVA's huge. Tell us about the TVA. I know they have an in-home energy evaluation program. Tell us about that, how that works.
Well, the way it works, it is a TVA program. It's administered locally through Cleveland Utilities and Volunteer Energy. And what they do, if you would like to have your home evaluated, it's a free program. You just call the person or the company that supplies your energy, whether it be Cleveland Utilities or Volunteer, and they will send a TVA inspector out to inspect your home. Again, that's free of charge. They'll go in your attic, in your crawl space, they'll check everything out and give you a list of improvements you can make your home more energy efficient. If you do any of those improvements, you don't have to do them all. You can pick and choose what you want to do. And if you use a TVA-approved contractor, they will rebate half the money that you spend, capped at $500. So if you spend $1,000, they'll mail you a check for $500.
That's pretty good. And I think you answered this a little earlier, but it kind of depends on the homeowner and their how many people live there and that type of thing, to how much money they can save monthly or yearly.
It varies from house to house, so it's hard to say you will save exactly this much. But we know we have checked back with our clients that we previously put the insulation in for, and we've checked back with them, and the lowest we found is 20%. Most are in the mid-20s, and like I said, we've had one customer, we did crawl space insulation, attic insulation, and air sealing, and they're saving 40% a month.
Now, insulation between the walls, insulation in the ceiling, and the floor, obviously that's going to save some money. What about, and I'm asking this not knowing that if you do this, but what about like around windows? I know a lot of people have window problems, or maybe it's not sealed well. You folks do that too?
Well, we don't do the windows, but the TVA program will evaluate your windows as well.
Okay.
They also look at your heat pump. So it's things that even we don't handle, but they can refer you to the contractors that can. Because sometimes they recommend replacing your windows, or putting on storm windows, or caulking around your windows. And those are all things that are, caulking is very inexpensive and can save you a lot of money. But if you do need to replace your windows, they have programs for that. They have financing, and they have the rebate program.
Because I know a lot of folks as well may not have enough insulation around their windows or around their doors, and you can kind of feel the air coming through, which if you can feel the air coming through, that's money going out, obviously.
It is, and it's very inexpensive, and they can point these things out to you, little weather stripping around the door, which is something most homeowners can do themselves.
Sure, yeah. Now, we talk about TVA doing their evaluation, but you folks I know do that as well. You go out to a home and we'll give them an estimate on what it will cost and kind of evaluate their insulation to let them know what they need or maybe what they don't need.
Yeah, we do that all the time. We have people call our office. We'll go out and evaluate, tell them what they need. Then we'll hook them up with the TVA inspector and let it go, of course, going through the local utilities. And he will come out and verify what we've told them. You know, they don't have to take our word for it. You know, we're trying to sell something, obviously, so they don't have to worry that we're trying to sell them something they don't need. TVA inspector will come out. He's totally independent. He'll tell them whether or not he agrees they need this. If not, then obviously they don't need to do it. But he'll verify that they do need it. But we'll check it out. We'll let you know what you need. We'll give you a quote for the work. TVA inspector will come out, verify it. If you decide to do it, we'll come back, install the insulation. Most houses take a day or less. Larger houses might take a little more. And then he'll come back and check our work when we're finished to make sure it's done properly.
That's you know, and I think that's the incredible thing, because you're right. I mean, all businesses are in business to make some money. I mean, that's why you're in business. But in the situation here, you don't have to take Eric's word for it. You've got somebody doesn't have a horse in the race, so to speak, with Eric, whether you use Eric or somebody else. But he's going to come out and tell you what Eric quoted you, what he says you need to do is exactly what you need to do, which makes you know that he's being fair and honest in what they're trying to tell you, and they are trying to save you money, which is a good thing.
Well, there's a lot of insulation companies that are not in the program. They don't want to be in the program because they don't want somebody coming behind and checking their work. You know?
Right.
I welcome it. Come check us. If we did something wrong, and you know, from time to time we'll fix it. You know, if he points out you need to do this a little differently, we'll come back, make it right, and then he'll re-inspect, and then they'll get their rebate.
Well, I think what's wonderful thing too is we're not going away here a little bit. Eric and Volunteer Ritapest in their pest control area, they offer money back guarantees plus an additional 10% or something like that, I believe.
That's right.
So, you know, he sticks behind his word, and obviously they stick behind their work and what they do, which is a lot of companies don't do that. They don't stand behind their work. They say they do, maybe, and they don't. Other than that reason, why should the viewers watching call Energy Miser?
Well, number one, we're locally owned. We're right here in Bradley County. If you have a problem with anything we do, you just pick up the phone and call. More than likely, you'll talk to me. If I happen to be out of the office, I'll call you right back. So we will handle the problem. You don't have to call out of state and leave a message and wait for a return phone call. I will get on it. We'll make it right. Because if the customers are not happy, you know, it makes us look bad. So I want to make sure everybody's happy. We keep our promises. You know, if we promise we're going to do things a certain way, we'll do it. If for some reason we don't get it done right the first time, we'll come back until you're happy. And like in our pest control business, if you're not 100% happy, we'll give you money back.
That's just incredible, because most places won't do that. They don't have enough confidence, obviously, maybe in their work or what they do, and Eric does. Eric, real quick, give us a phone number, how these folks can get in touch with you, whether they need more insulation or whether they want their home pest-free. What number would they call?
The same number, 472-7736. Either call that number and you can get your home treated, you can get insulation, you can get an inspection done. We'll do a free inspection, check it out for you. If you decide not to have it done, that's fine. But we'll come out and tell you what you need and then hook you up with a TVA inspector and go from there.
Okay. So again, the phone number?
472-7736.
All right, 472-7736. Talk to Eric Gardner and the great folks at Volunteer Ritapest LLC. Energy Miser. Get your home inspected, then get it insulated, and start saving money today. Eric, I thank you so much for being with us today. And you folks want to save some money, give this man a call. He'll do it. For Shopping East Tennessee on WTMB, I'm Joe Palo.